In this rebuild video, I'm going to rebuild a fallen Dutch giant. They have fallen off of many years. They haven't won the Champions League since the mid-90s and have become a selling club to Europeans elite. They produce wonder kid after wonder kid. They are the mighty Ajax of Amsterdam. We arrive at the Amsterdam Arena with Ajax not being the champions of the Eredivisie for the first time in a very long time. The reigning champions are Feyenoord. We are the biggest and best club in the Netherlands, in my opinion. But in recent times, we have fallen on harder times. The club vision is to get back on track, reach the knockout rounds of the Europa League and challenge for the Eredivisie title in the first season. They'll like us to sign players under the age of 18 in this rebuild. Now, if you don't already, please do like this video and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me, and if just a few of you would subscribe to the channel that are watching the videos, it would make a huge difference to my channel's trajectory, and I 100% appreciate all of your support on all of my channels. Now, getting on with the rebuild. The stipulations are we will have 5 seasons in charge of Ajax, and we will aim to win as many Eredivisie titles, Dutch league titles, and as many continental competitions as we can as possible. Winning a Champions League would be a bonus. Winning a Europa League, even with Ajax, would be a huge dub for this rebuild. Now, in terms of the finances, we have £89 million in the bank. Ajax are a selling club at this moment in time, but where it's going to get tricky is this transfer debt of £158 million and 105k we're paying back per month. So it's not going to be massive on the finances. Currently, we are a rich club, and that's going to be where we are going forward. Now, the unique thing with Ajax in Football Manager is they start off with no staff. So I'm going to have to bring in all the staff, whether that be physios, assistant managers, directors of football, head of youth development, all of that good stuff. We get to build out our own team there. Now, in terms of the squad is very decent. We do have some big injury problems in goal with Remco Pasveer injured, the experienced Dutch goalkeeper, as well as what would be our number one, Geronimo Aruli, also injured at this present time. Jay Gorta as well is also out injured, leaving us with just the one goalkeeper in Dinat Ramaj. The German goalkeeper looks fairly good at this level, comes in from Eintracht Frankfurt to play for our football club. Now, we do have some Football Manager legends in our squad. Josef Sutalo is a brilliant baller at this level. He comes in from Dynamo Zagreb. He was very good for me on my derby save. We do have good players out on loan like Owen Vindal, who plays left back. He's currently on loan at Antwerp. Are we looking to bring him back as soon as possible? Divine Wrench is a quality centre-back, and play across the back line will be very, very important to us in this rebuild, whether we get money for him or if we get the best out of him. Jarrell Hatto is another player at Ajax with a big future, a very, very good player. 17-year-old will most likely be our club captain for this season. The experience comes in the form of English midfield player Jordan Henderson, who was out in the Middle East with Al Ettifaq after a long and successful career with Liverpool Football Club. He will bring much needed experience into the centre of the park, but is on huge wages, and we need to get rid of him as soon as we can. In terms of talent we've got in the squad, Kenneth Taylor ticks all the boxes. He is a very good central midfield player and a current Dutch international at that. Sivert Mansberg is a very, very good player. Comes in from Molde. A holding midfield player, a central midfield player will be key for us this season in the Eerste Divisie. But in the forward line, this is where we really are lacking. We've not got the best strikers out there. We have got Carlos Borges, the player on the wing, Man City graduate. He will be a key member of this team for us, as will former Tottenham player and one of my favourite Spurs players, Steven Bergwijn. Came from PSV to Tottenham and now at Ajax, is a key player for this Eredivisie squad. And in terms of the forward line, as we mentioned, our strikers consist of Chupa Akpom, a former championship striker who has taken a huge step up to the Eredivisie in this save. And one fan favourite is Brian Broby. He will be a very good Dutch striker for the Eredivisie and hopefully push us forward in Europe as well. Now, in terms of the tactics we will play throughout this rebuild, I've first gone for a Xabi Alonso tactic from Josh Daly. Shout out Josh Daly. This is an incredible tactic. And I haven't played 5 at the back this year, and I really wanted to play this formation. So I'm doing a Xabi Alonso test here. It is a balanced tactic. In possession, it is fairly narrow. You've got pass into space. You've got focus through the middle, play out of defence, hit crosses early, and mix crosses, short pass in higher tempo. The transition. Counter press, counter, distribute to centre-backs. Out of possession, Here is the defensive line. We're not going to get caught with balls over the top, prevent short goalkeeper distribution, trigger the press much more often, and step up more. It is a very intense tactic, as you'll see. We will have to make some rest in that. I'm going to make one change. I'm going to get stuck in. I want on here. I want us to be physical in the middle of the park, and it is a non-negotiable from high sides in these rebuilds. As you can see, here is the team here and the team instructions. The full links to these tactics will be in the downloads, so do go and download it from there. And in the second tactic, we're going to be playing the patented Grumbledore against teams where it's going to be a little bit trickier. We know when we're underdogs, this tactic performs. You've seen it on the Aris save. You've seen it on the Depor save. You've seen it on any save that I do across Football Manager. But I didn't want to use it as my main tactic this time around in this rebuild. Comment below now how you think we're going in this rebuild. What do you think we'll win? Will we win a European trophy? Will we not win a European trophy? Can we even win an Eredivisie in 5 seasons with Ajax? And put your top transfer targets in the comments as well and see if you're right in us buying any of those players. Now, let's simulate the first season in charge and see how we got on. Our first season in charge was an absolute roaring success. We won the Eredivisie at an absolute canter. We won the Dutch Cup as well and made the final of the UEFA Europa League, playing our arch enemies in PSV in the final. The story could not be written any more than that in our first season. In terms of the transfers this season, we did bring in a couple of players in January, which I will show you right now. They were a couple of good selections to the squad. I have to say, some very, very good ballers, as you will know them. Kareem the Dream Konate came in from RB Salzburg and has been a solid starter for us, scoring 7 goals in 12 league games this season, improving all the time. He is an absolute beast. The next coming of Didier Drogba, in my opinion. We went to Leeds and poached Wilfred Gnonto. He can play across the front line, mainly been playing up front for us this season, is another 1-in-2 man in the league and has plenty of pace for us to pick from this season. We did sell one player, and that was Steven Berghaus. He went to AS Roma in a £13.5 million deal. He wanted to leave at the end of his contract, so he has now left the football club. PSG also poached Axel and Van Dronningen. He is an absolute talented winger, but he wanted to go to PSG, and you know when PSG come in for your youngsters, it is simply game over. But now, let's get into the UEFA Europa League final against PSV. The UEFA Europa League final is upon us, and we play arch enemies PSV, who take the home dressing room for this game. Coach Peter Bosch is very, very up for it. We are playing our patented Grumbledore tactic in away games this season, and it hasn't let us down so far. Can we pick up a huge dub and pick up our first European trophy as Ajax manager, and their first since the early 1990s? Come on, the boys. And we struck just before the stroke of half-time as Devon wrenched down the right-hand side. What he's done all season. Put the cross in and Brian Broby makes it 1-0. Big psychological edge to Ajax. But PSV were not to be denied in this game as they came out of the dressing room firing and scored an absolute banger through Malik Tillman to equalise. You might as well start calling this the Brian Broby final as he steps up again to get the second goal for Ajax. Great move by Hatto, but Broby with the tap-in, 2-1 Ajax. The 2 goals from Brian Broby were enough to win us our first European trophy in our first season in charge of the mighty Ajax of Amsterdam. We pick up the UEFA Europa League with them being our arch enemies PSV 2-1 in the final. The Brian Broby final, some of them are calling it. His 2 goals were enough. And we celebrate on the pitch like true champions, doing an absolute incredible treble in our first season in charge of the football club. Now we prepare for the second season in charge in this unbelievable rebuild. The second season was full of transfers and we made a lot of ins and a lot of outs at this football club. We first brought in Oscar Gluck, Ivan Fresneda, Alex Terzic and Alexander Pavlovich have come into the football club. Going out is Divine Wrench. He wouldn't sign a new contract and he wanted to go to Bayer Leverkusen. Ramaj, Jorge Sanchez, David Koloa, Francisco Conceição and many others have left the football club on loan this season. But Oscar Gluck comes in, the wonder kid from RB Salzburg. We are poaching all of their players at this point. He's a very good player. Never had him this year on Football Manager, but I'm sure he will come good for us. Ivan Fresno is a Football Manager wonder kid that everyone loves. Spanish right back. We needed a new right back as Wrench went, and I feel like this guy is the long-term solution at this football club for this rebuild. Terzic is a player I've wanted on many saves. He's done very well. Another signing from RB Salzburg. We're just giving them funds at this point. He looks absolutely cracked. Pavliovic is a ball-winning midfield player that wanted to leave Bayern Munich due to lack of first-team football, and we picked him up for very cheap, and I feel like he's going to be the long-term replacement to Jordan Henderson in this 5-year rebuild. And in terms of the competitions this season, we've already picked up a couple of trophies before the season's even started. We won the Johan Cruyff Community Shield type thing in Holland, beating Feyenoord, and we also won a competition I had never seen before, which is one of these competitions that you play against Brazilian or South American opposition. Is the Euro Sam Club Challenge. We beat them 3-1, and there is that aforementioned 5-0 Super Cup win before the start of the season. So 2 trophies in this season is looking good for us. We're playing the UEFA Super Cup is the next available trophy for us. How are we doing this season? Make sure you comment in the comments below. And now let's simulate this season and see how we got on in the second season in charge of Ajax. The second season in charge of Ajax was fairly straightforward. We won the Eredivisie at a canter. 92 points, 109 plus goal difference, as well as Nonto picking up top goal scorer with 19 goals, and Kareem Kadreem Konate with 18 big goals. Fresno with the assists came in clutch as well. We also picked up the UEFA Super Cup, beating Arsenal, and the Dutch Cup, beating Vitesse in the final. We made some additions to the squad in the second season, January transfer window, as you will see now. We picked up some great players. We picked up Dennis Seaman, who came in for Luis Jr., who went to the Middle East. So he came in for 6 months and left. We also picked up Andre to play central defensive midfield player for us as an anchor. He looks absolutely cracked and has been absolutely cracked for us this season. It was big success for us in this save. Another player that came into was Nyapan. Never had Nyapan before, and he looks like an absolute quality baller going into our third season in charge of this rebuild with Ajax. Something I want to pick up on is the finances. We're £132 million in profit. It is looking very, very strong for the Dutch boys of Ajax. And back to the competitions, we do have the Club World Cup coming up in the pre-season of the third season. Let's see how we got on in that competition and the transfers we made going into our third season in this exciting Ajax rebuild. The second season in charge of Ajax was fairly straightforward. We won the Eredivisie at a canter. 92 points, 109 plus goal difference, as well as Nonto picking up top goal scorer with 19 goals, and Kareem Kadreem Konate with 18 big goals. Fresno with the assists came in clutch as well. We also picked up the UEFA Super Cup, beating Arsenal, and the Dutch Cup, beating Vitesse in the final. We made some additions to the squad in the second season, January transfer window, as you will see now. We picked up some great players. We picked up Dennis Seaman, who came in for Luis Jr., who went to the Middle East. So he came in for 6 months and left. We also picked up Andre to play central defensive midfield player for us as an anchor. He looks absolutely cracked and has been absolutely cracked for us this season. It was big success for us in this save. Another player that came into was Nyapan. Never had Nyapan before, and he looks like an absolute quality baller going into our third season in charge of this rebuild with Ajax. Something I want to pick up on is the finances. We're £132 million in profit. It is looking very, very strong for the Dutch boys of Ajax. And back to the competitions, we do have the Club World Cup coming up in the pre-season of the third season. Let's see how we got on in that competition and the transfers we made going into our third season in this exciting Ajax rebuild. Hold the press as we have the first opportunity in this rebuild to win the UEFA Champions League with Ajax, and we play the overpowered Ninja Turtle FC in Paris Saint-Germain in the final. They knocked us out last year. They're hoping to break our hearts again. But before we get into that game, let's take a look at how the season when we absolutely smashed it in the Eredivisie. We won the league again at a canter, having an unbeaten season in the league with 32 big wins, 2 draws, 98 points and 117 goal difference, with Broby and Nonto scoring all of the goals in that competition. We won the Dutch Cup. We won the Super Cup. We also won right at the start of the season the Club World Cup, beating Manchester City on penalties in the final to pick up yet another trophy in this season. And as you can see, we've had some huge wins throughout the season. PSV have been our nemesis in this save, and that was one of the only draws we had this season. But the run was incredible, and the last draw in the league came against NEC Nijmegen back in March. And as you can see, we've been on a massive run since then to reach our first ever UEFA Champions League final. And this is the squad that will take us to the final. The only signing we made in the January transfer window was Amir Dedic from Salzburg. And in this rebuild, we have just been poaching players from Salzburg all of the time. But he is an elite fullback joining the football club and has pushed us on in this save. It's been an unbelievable time for us in this save. One of the signings you didn't see that happened in the summer window was Kapuskas. He's come in, he's been playing well, he's not developing though. He is a little bit short of confidence at this moment in time, but he is a quality baller. Now let's get into our first ever Champions League final against PSG. It was a nerve-wracking Champions League final. Ajax's first one since the mid-1990s and their first one in a very long time as we take on PSG, who have got an absolute god squad. Mbappe, Dembele, Ramos, Simmons, Valverde, Ugarte, Skriniar. The teams are set. The teams are coming out. The Champions League music is playing in the background. We are ready to take this opportunity. It was first blood to the boys from Amsterdam as Karim Konate brought the ball forward and Houstef Nyapan cut inside and finessed it past Donnarumma to make it 1-0. The Nyapan's goal, Taylor stepped up with a penalty to make it 2-0 in the 16th minute. But PSG would come roaring back into this game, firstly with a goal from Goncalo Ramos from an Mbappe assist. He was left wide open in the middle to make it 2-1. And then Freddy Valverde would equalise in the 79th minute after some more poor defending from our centre-backs, left in too much space, and he finessed it past Seaman to take it to extra time. In the depths of extra time, Oscar Gluck would step up to make it 3-2 to Ajax with not too long to go as Bergwijn put the ball in and Gluck put us back in front. And that was enough to make us champions of Europe from the first time since the mid-90s. The boys of Ajax of Amsterdam have done it. They have won the Champions League in only the third season in this rebuild. A huge trophy to add to our massive trophy haul we've already got. What an achievement it is for the boys from Amsterdam. This team will go down in history as one of the best teams to ever play in the Eredivisie, completing an invincible season, not losing a single game in any competition. A season to remember. Come on, the boys. It was a quiet start to the fourth season in terms of the transfer window, only bringing in 2 players. One of those players was Lucas Torreira on a free transfer. He adds experience to the midfield, something we were going to be lacking as Jordan Henderson left the football club after being with us for a few seasons. We also did add in towards the back end of last season Maximiliano Ore on a £6.25 million deal. He looks like he's going to be absolutely cracked. And one for the future for the next couple of seasons in this 5-season rebuild with Ajax. We did lose a few players during this window, but nothing too special. Kaplan went to Fenerbahce. He wasn't going to be a starting centre-back for us. Wanted first-team football. Couldn't offer it to him, so he left the football club after us winning the Champions League. Lots of loan players going out, including Borges again, Pavlovic, Francisco Conceição again, and Sky Vink. These players are going to get first-team football and hopefully at some point can become first-team players for us. If not, they will be off and out of the football club, I can imagine. In terms of competitions for this season, we've already picked up the annual Johan Cruyff Super Cup by whooping Feyenoord 4-0. We're in the UEFA Super Cup after winning the Champions League last season, and we are about to kick off our Eredivisie campaign away at Volendam. And before we start the season, this is the squad going into the season. A lot of players have remained. No losses in terms of our big players. So as you can see, we've kept goalkeeper Dennis Seaman in the football club. We've also kept players like Ivan Fresneda, as well as players like Dedic and Andre, who is a big keep. He was wanted by quite a lot of clubs, but no one has yet to put in a bid for the Brazilian midfield player. And up top, we've still got our amazing strike force of Willy Nonto and Kareem the Dream Konate. These boys have won everything with us and hopefully going to push us forward. Can we pick up more trophies in this season? I'm anticipating we win domestically, but could we do back-to-back Champions Leagues? That would be an unbelievable feat in this Ajax rebuild. Sadly, that cannot happen. Back-to-back Champions Leagues, we were knocked out in the quarterfinals by PSG. They were very strong in the competition and just a little bit too much for our side as the holders go out of the quarterfinal stage. We had another great season in the Eredivisie, finishing unbeaten again. So back-to-back unbeaten seasons, you can't really argue with that. Nonto and Kareem the Dream scoring many a goal for us this season. We won the Super Cup again against Manchester United, the Dutch Cup and the Dutch Super Cup, as you have seen. The schedule was here. We did really well. We lost on penalties to PSG, as you saw previously. It was a bit of a disappointment, but it is what it is at this stage. You can't be winning Champions Leagues all the time. But going back to the start of the season, we did lose one game in the Champions League, so not really a truly invincible season, but you know, we'll call it an invincible season in the league nonetheless. We won the Super Cup 2-1 against Manchester United. Players that we brought in this season, this was the squad. The main players for the squad were there. We did bring in João Felix in January. He wanted to leave PSG and came to us and had a very good start to his Ajax career and is obviously an elite level baller. We brought in Ore as well, who is a wonder kid from Argentina, developing all the time, looks absolutely cracked. And going into the last season in our real build, this will be key to keep a hold of all of our players. I can't believe we've managed to keep Konate and Nonto for this long. They are some of the best players in world football currently. Will we keep them next season? Will they move on? Let's find out now as we make our transfers for our fifth and final season in this Ajax rebuild. The start of the fifth season kicked off very well. In our final season in charge in this rebuild, we picked up yet another Johan Cruyff Schau, beating Feyenoord 4-1 this time and making it perfectly suited to beating Feyenoord. We're in the Eredivisie, the Champions League and the Dutch Cup this season. Transfers have been very quiet in this window for us in terms of incomings, but outgoings, we sold Lucas Torreira to the Middle East. He went to Al Hilal. They wanted to pay £36 million for him. We got him on a free last season. They could absolutely take him and pay nearly 600k per week. Tahirovic was moaning that he wasn't going to get first team football, so we shipped him back off to Roma. One player we did bring in is Paulo Estrelina. He comes in as a holding midfield player from Estoril Pereira. We have a very strong squad, as you know. We've got some good players in here as well. Naipan stayed, Gluck stayed, Konate and Nonto up front again. With our schedule looking fairly decent this season, we've got PSV and Feyenoord in the first 4 games of the season at home. It's looking like it's going to be a memorable last season in charge of the boys from Amsterdam. Let's see how we get on in this exciting last season of the Ajax rebuild. The last season in charge of Ajax was a very successful one, picking up the Champions League, making it 3 European trophies in 5 seasons for the boys from Amsterdam. The Eredivisie was as simple as possible. We picked up 94 points and 103 plus goal difference. We did lose in the Dutch Cup with Sparta Rotterdam winning it overall this season, but sometimes you just have to give other teams a chance to win a trophy. The Johan Cruyff Schau was the other trophy we picked up this season. We end this rebuild with an unbelievable squad. The squad was absolutely cooking from start to finish. Dennis Seaman has been the number one for the past few seasons now. Played 109 games for us overall in this rebuild, yet to make his debut for the German national side. We had Sotalo in from the start. He has been a rock at the back in this rebuild. Other players I want to pay key attention to would be Ivan Fresneda. He has been absolutely top notch for us, playing 109 games in this rebuild. A new player we bought in the start of the season in the January transfer window was Paulo Estrelina. He played a fair few games for us this season. Other players that I really liked and enjoyed having on this rebuild was Oscar Gluck, the young Israeli talent from Salzburg, was a big part of why we achieved so much in this save. But the shocking ones were, for me, were Kareem Konate. I can't believe no one picked him up. He scored 75 goals in 116 games for the club. Him and his strike partner, Willy Nonto, got 91 goals in 130 for this football club. Absolutely unbelievable numbers. No interest in either of them from any club which is absolutely unbelievable in my opinion. Naipan was another player that I would love to have on another rebuild. 28 goals in 86 games for the young Norwegian wonder kid. We leave the club in a financial place of £193 million in the bank. Very profitable football club, and with a squad that is absolutely godly. Wrapping off this video, we'll be checking out the timeline and particularly the major trophies that we have won during this rebuild over the course of the 5 seasons. As you can see, in the 23-24 season, we did the Dutch Cup, the Eredivisie, and the UEFA Europa League. In 2024 as well, we won that European South American Challenge, which is the Europa League versus one of the teams in South America. Johan Cruyff Schal, the UEFA Super Cup, Dutch Cup, Eredivisie, and Club World Championship soon followed. But our first major Champions League trophy came in 2026. It would take us until 2028 to win another one of those Champions Leagues. Even with our squad, we won 20 major trophies overall in 5 seasons with Ajax. We put them from a struggling side to one of Europe's absolute best and one of Europe's most dominant football clubs in this save. What a save series it's been. What a rebuild. An unbelievable team to do. Let me know in the comments below which team you want to see next. And if not, I'll see you on another video.